Warcraft players are switching to Final Fantasy 14, and also World of Warcraft currently ruining the gamer experience because lot of the Shadowland and all of them feel like wasting a lot of time, and people are not even enjoying like they enjoyed the classic and stuff, and they're switching to Final Fantasy 14, like even Asmongold and top Twitch streamers and streamers on YouTube who streamed World of Warcraft on YouTube and stuff like that. They're all switching to Final Fantasy 14, and I'm wondering what actually good in that game, and actually which platform I had to go in order to play this game. Like there are PlayStation, Xbox, PC. So I'm also wondering which platform to go in, whether should I play this game or not. And Josh Strife Hayes, this guy has good gaming reviews about all the gamings and stuff. This guy says about Final Fantasy 14. Let's take a look at it.
Be forgiven for wanting to run off and live 2021 inside a virtual one, but with so many online games to choose from, which are worth your time and which are wastes of money? Let's find out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Strife Hayes, and today I'll be answering the question, should you play Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn in 2021? We'll be looking at several areas of the game and then deciding if it's worth playing. Before we begin, if you could do me a favour and drop a like on the video, then consider subscribing to the channel or clicking the bell icon for more MMO content. And a massive thank you to all my supporters on Patreon and Twitch who make all my videos possible. Right, let's play some FF14. Final Fantasy XIV is an interesting game. Originally releasing in 2010, it was shut down because it was awful. Then they rebuilt it from the ground up and rebranded it as A Realm Reborn, and now it's really good. It's available on PC, Mac, PS3 and PS4, although the PS3 version is being slowly phased out, so you should ignore.
Okay, so it's available on which platform? I had to check that one double time because I'm thinking about buying PS5 or Xbox today. So I'm thinking about whether stick with PC, because this PC currently I'm having have no fucking space. All of them are occupied by the World of Warcraft, Counter-Strike, Dota 2 and all those kind of games. Now I am thinking about adding this game, and I think I have to buy another PC, or like my SSD doesn't hold so much. So I'm thinking about, I'm gonna eventually get to PS5, Xbox X or something, the new series, and another PC. So it's and like I want to go all in, like all of the platforms, all of them, like PC and Xbox and PS5. Not really Mac. Mac I have very bad experience. If you are a gamer, don't buy the fucking Mac. That's my experience. I couldn't even play the fucking Dota in the Mac. That how awful it's that, So let's see what platform it's available. So he said PC, Mac, PS3.
PS3 and PS4, although the PS3 version is being slowly phased out, so you should ignore that one. The amazing thing about the game is it's...
Okay, he didn't even mention about the Xbox. I don't know what the fuck is that. Like, let's actually Google it. Oh, Final Fantasy 14 platforms. 14 good on PS5 or Xbox. Some Reddit will be good. Okay. How likely it is that FFXIV will release on Xbox Series X? Okay, so they haven't even released on Xbox Series X. I guess it's likely to see next year. Phil Sexton said it will come very good. Is that a new one? Like both MSSC planning Xbox eventually? If it comes to it all, it would definitely unlock an expansion right before. The only issue MS beforehand was MS wanting optional Xbox exclusive servers and to charge for live membership on top of XIV sub. XIV is playable without PS Plus. Apparently MS finally surrendered this. There shouldn't be any technical problems. All the consoles are just PCs now. uh, which is weird considering the 360 had XI, which could be played on silver account on the same PC PS2 servers. Right now, gold is no longer required to play free games, so that's a good thing for Square Enix. Most likely, it will be released on late 2021 with a new expansion Endwalker. They won't release a Xbox version until Microsoft let the game be played without the gold subscription like they do with PlayStation. That is the only reason they haven't done anything about it. Blah blah blah. Okay, let's see. FF Lightning returns all on the Xbox in some form or another. FFVII make Windows Microsoft. What the fuck is this? Okay, I don't know. I don't see any clear detail about it. Microsoft the MMR RPG on PS5. Okay. Reddit. So it looks like FF isn't dead. Okay. Development FFXVI, FFVII makes projects and all of the stuff Square is typically brewing plus the pandemic. None of this is surprising, and most of this is done by other teams. Sure, the devs may still behind thanks to the PS5 port and the expansion, but don't go blaming separate projects managed by separate teams. Final Fantasy XVI being done by creative. Okay, I don't have an Xbox, but it would be cool. More money for them means more expansion for me. Okay. PS5. Okay, let's see this. Honestly, as someone who rates on a controller, I would say neither. The best controller you can get for XIV, assuming the sticks, D-pad and buttons are functional, is something wider. L2, R2 buttons, preferably made of a slightly softer plastic that won't cut into your fingers as much as because you will have long periods where you are holding those triggers down. The Xbox and PS5 controllers have perfectly good shoulder triggers, but the shape and material means it really uncomfortable. After an hour of raiding, if my personal preference wasn't for the mirror sticks of a PlayStation controller, I would honestly be using Switch Pro controller. I was using a SteelSeries Status Duo controller until driver issues made me sideline it and my cat knocked off my... what the fuck. Okay, I'm really happy with PS5 controller. Feels way better than PS4, especially triggers. As of along stick questions, I absolutely hate asymmetric design. I find it making handling both. Okay, I use Xbox Elite V2 and I have to say it's pretty nice. I just blah 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 blah. So I'm like confused here. FFXIV coming for Xbox One. Just wondering if this game might possibly be coming to Xbox, especially with the release of the next generation Series X and finally watch the event February when the next expansion out. That is when you would hear any news, not before. No news. It's so current Xbox PS5 version presumably with the next expansion. We will. Okay, nothing announced. Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, PS. Is it in Xbox Series X? Is Final Fantasy on Xbox Series X? Okay, Final Fantasy XIV Project Nacurios believes 5G could be and for consoles. Final Fantasy 14 Project Naoki says console will gradually be phased out as 5G mobile networks roll out worldwide. Sony next generation PlayStation VR reportedly feature 4K resolution. Blah 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 blah. Latest console by. Okay, now let's actually see it on Amazon, man. This is, guys, I don't know. Final Fantasy 5. Actually 14, not 5. 14. Game. It's in the game. Final Fantasy 14. Square Enix. PlayStation platform Windows, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. What the fuck? This is not even the new console. Wait a minute. So it's only playable by PlayStation 4, not even PlayStation 5. PlayStation 4. So PS5 doesn't have it. Okay. PS5. So Xbox. Let's see. Xbox. Xbox One. Okay, Xbox One doesn't even have the Final Fantasy XIV. So it's only available for PlayStation 4, not for the PlayStation 5. That's kind of weird. I don't know why it's happening. Maybe I will just stick with the PC. Now let's actually see the eBay and PlayStation 4. PS4. Station 4 full price. Okay, PlayStation 4 Slim Pro Control is only from UK. I don't want it from UK. It's not that bad. 6 month warranty, 1 GB black console, 451 only. Seems good for me. Pre-owned, who cares? Import charges 52. Okay, so I think I have to go for PlayStation 4 then. Okay, now maybe I will make another video about this console thing. I think I'm just like sidetracked by this. Let's go and continue.
Fully cross-platform, meaning all players from all platforms play together on the same servers. PlayStation 4 players, Mac players and PC players are all gaming together on the same world. As long as you're on the same realm as your friend, regardless of platform you're playing on, you will be playing together. As for the cost, this is where things get a bit more complex. This has changed recently, so I'm going to give you the most up-to-date information we have right now. Up until very recently, Final Fantasy XIV was a monthly subscription game, but due to recent generous changes, you can now create a free trial account. This free trial account can experience a massive amount of the game, including the entire core main game and the whole first expansion, Heavensward, for free. From level 1 up to 60 in all jobs, but there are restrictions to this trial. All restrictions are listed on the website and they include no trading with other players, no more than 1 character per world, and no using the player-to-player market board. Unfortunately, if you have an old character that used to be a paid monthly sub, you cannot convert it to a free trial character. You need to start a new character to get the free trial. Once you've played through the good 500-hour core game and Heavensward expansions, the monthly subscription is around £9 or $13, which is super reasonable given the quality of the game. Final Fantasy XIV is set in the magical land of Eorzea. New players to the Final Fantasy franchise will be happy to know that the games, despite sharing the Final Fantasy name, are not actually a single chronological adventure. Each one is an independent experience with a few superficial similarities, meaning you can start with FF14 and not be missing out on anything. The land of Eorzea itself is vast, covering multiple environments and biomes, from secluded treetop canopies to murky swamps or dry arid desert mesas. The city you start in will be determined by your starting class, but no matter where you start, it will look gorgeous. The lighting effects, character models, combat animations, and music are just stunningly high quality, everything we've come to expect from Final Fantasy games. In fact, one of the reasons the original FF14 didn't do too well was because the graphics were too good, and even tiny insignificant objects had a massive amount of polygons. There was an interview with the creator a while ago where he said a background flower pot had 10,000 polygons, which was the same count as the character models. If you want to see what your PC can really do or what the PlayStation 4 is really capable of, Final Fantasy XIV on max graphics will put it through its paces. The attention to detail and high quality...
Okay, this comment actually made me like, fuck, if I want to really experience the graphics card from PS4, this game is it. So it means PlayStation 4 is a definitely good idea for this game. And it's cheaper now because of the new release. Let's actually listen to that again.
As the character models. If you want to see what your PC can really do or what the PlayStation 4 is really capable of,
PC can really do. I don't want to test my PC because it's already full of games. And if this requires a lot of graphics, I better buy a new console or update my PC. So I'm thinking about going to PS4.
Final Fantasy XIV on max graphics will put it through its paces. The attention to detail and high quality is obvious from the very start with the character creator. When creating a character, you'll first be able to choose your race. You've got the human-like nomadic Hyor, the sleek and graceful elfin-like Elezen, the equal parts adorable and insufferable Lalafell, the cat-like Miqo'te, the super buff Rogadin, and the scaly Aurora. Each race is visually different, and the variety gives the whole game a seriously fantastical feel. You've also got 2 premium races locked behind the expansion packs, which we'll look at later. Each race can play as any class, so this is purely an aesthetic choice. Pick what you think looks cool. Character creation is ridiculously detailed, letting you customize not only your hair and height, but the very whites of your eyes or the color around them. If you think I am joking, here is actual footage of me customizing my eye accent colors. Final Fantasy XIV is a stupidly high-detailed game. As for classes, Final Fantasy XIV does something I really like, and that's not restrict you. While you may start the game as one thing, you are not limited to it. FF14 calls its classes Disciples of War for the fighter classes, Disciples of Magic for all the spellcasters, and the crafting is broken down into Disciples of the Land for gathering and Disciples of the Hand for making stuff. And while you may begin the game as an archer or a gladiator or a conjurer, that's not what you will stay as. Leveling through your individual job's storyline will unlock new abilities for that job, but to switch jobs or classes, all you need to do is switch weapons. This means you only need one character to experience absolutely everything the game has to offer, and if you're fighting an enemy that's weak against a certain combat style, you can come back geared up with that style. This also means if you're playing with a group of friends and one of you gets bored of tanking, you can switch whenever you need to. I absolutely love the freedom of this system. Once you reach the basic version of a class to a certain level, you can complete a special quest and evolve it into a better version. The archer becomes a bard, the lancer becomes a dragoon. It's basically a new name and a slightly different set of abilities, showing you are a more elite version of that class. As for the combat system, this is where I'll get some hate in the comments. Final Fantasy XIV has great combat. Eventually. The endgame dungeons and harder bosses will see you and a large team of players pulling off amazing feats of combat skill, using many special attacks and chaining together abilities to form massive damage, dodging, healing, defending and attacking fluidly within dynamic and exciting fights, and it's actually super enjoyable. at the end game. However, the first 20 or 30 hours of combat are, in my opinion, super dull. You've got your basic auto attack and a single activated ability which you'll spam until you get a second, but most abilities, especially in the early game, all use the global cooldown timer, meaning activating one places all of them onto a short cooldown. Usually this means you have to pick and choose which ability to use in a given situation, but at the start it means you'll just be slowly cycling through 2 or 3 buttons for several hours. To be clear, Final Fantasy XIV's combat is graphically beautiful and mechanically solid, and it does get good, but it does not start good. Once you get into the meat of the game though, you've got a vast amount of content available, from randomized boss battle roulette to organized dungeons, or even joining in with the localized fate battles, which are reoccurring battle challenges out in the open world. Final Fantasy XIV has a lot to offer, it just takes its sweet time getting to the good bit. Now, despite being one of the most played MMORPGs in history, Final Fantasy XIV takes itself extremely seriously as a solo story. If you're after a game that encourages you to rush to the high-level content and join your friends doing mindless dungeon run after dungeon run, then don't even consider playing this game. It can actually help to look at this game as more of a solo, classic, single-player Final Fantasy with heavy multiplayer elements. The game starts with a cutscene and then continues with a cutscene, and pretty much the entire way through it's told via cutscenes, and my god, are some of them quite long. You might even get warnings because of how long they are. This game rivals Metal Gear Solid for extremely long cutscenes. The characters you meet on your journey will reoccur, switch sides, live, die, and generally change, and you're expected to connect to them and read all they have to say. This is a deep, involved RPG with a deep, involved story that needs you to get involved with it. If you spam click through all the text and just follow the quest descriptions and then wonder why the game feels so shallow, it's because the story is a primary factor of Final Fantasy XIV, and if you don't engage with the story, you'll be missing a massive chunk of the experience. The story itself also isn't bad, it's actually very good and extremely well written once it gets going, but again, this suffers the same flaw as combat. It takes a while to get going. The first few hours, potentially days if you're playing casually, will see you performing busy work in the starting city, picking up dropped rubbish, passing messages back and forth between people, performing emotes at local NPCs, generally doing all the things we consider non-heroic. And I understand why the game does this. It's to set up the slow but eventual rise to global hero, but you must be prepared as a player for the opening of this game to be extremely mundane and in some cases rather tedious. The early game quests are very simple. Talk to A, go and talk to B, deliver item C, or kill 3 low-level enemies. Brand new players to the MMORPG genre will appreciate the ease of access, but veteran players will feel somewhat coddled. Now, to the game's credit, it does have a top-notch in-game tutorial system. With every single new mechanic explained and fully documented, you'll never be unsure of what does what. It's just a remarkably slow start. Now, while it can indeed be played as a high-quality single-player adventure, it's also one of the most successful RPGs of all time, with MMO population putting it as the 5th most popular MMO with about 2 million daily active players. The Final Fantasy XIV community is...
Okay, now let's actually look at which one is first. Most played MMO games 2021. World of Warcraft still first, number 1. Most people are leaving it, but still number 1. Total players 100 million, 110 million, actually 113 million, let's keep it real. This total player 24 million only, so this World of Warcraft still 5 times bigger. And the third one is old school RuneScape, World of Warcraft Classic 4th one, 5th one is RuneScape, 6th one is the Elder Scroll Online, 7th Destiny 2, 8 Black Desert Online, 9 Elite Dangerous, and Guild Wars 2. So Final Fantasy is 2nd place according to this article. Now let's confirm with another one as well. Most played. Okay, I don't know. I don't want to answer this. 10 Star Wars. I didn't even know Star Wars got a game. 9 EVE Online, 8 Guild Wars 2, 7 Black Desert Online, 6 RuneScape 3. What the fuck? Where's the other things? Okay, page 2. 5 Elder Scroll Online, 4 World of Warcraft Classic, and 3 Old School RuneScape, and 2 Final Fantasy XIV. First one is World of Warcraft. According to this, it's according to this, it's 4.5 million players. 2 million. Now let's confirm finally with another one. Another website. Okay, this one. Okay, 2021 World of Warcraft still number 1. Final Fantasy 14 number 2. Old School RuneScape number 3. World of Warcraft Classic number 4. Destiny 2 number 5. RuneScape number 6. 7 The Elder Scrolls Online. 8 Black Desert Online. 9 New World. What the fuck? New World released just now. A lot of people are getting into it, and it's produced by Amazon. I think this is gonna be a big shot later on. I'm not pretty sure. Allied Dangerous number 10. Okay. Seems like a good idea to switch to Final Fantasy 14, but am I gonna quit World of Warcraft? No. I'm gonna stick with both, like anytime any game can be better. Like World of Warcraft team now decide, okay, now a lot of people are leaving World of Warcraft, we are gonna do something better, and they change people something. So these can switch back and forth. Still World of Warcraft number 1. So why would I even leave that? A lot of people are leaving frustrated, but I'm still gonna stick with it.
Is thriving with in-game guilds or free companies constantly recruiting and adventuring together, an extremely active subreddit, YouTube and Twitch communities, and even a real-life restaurant, the Aphosius Cafe in Japan. Final Fantasy XIV has become a major success, both financially and culturally. The main cities in the game are always super populated, and when I logged in, I had to join a queue. You know a game is doing well when there's a queue to log in. When you start playing Final Fantasy XIV, you'll be a low-level messenger passing items or notes back and forth for a few hours. Then about 3 or 4 days in, you'll get to adventure around the wilds and experience some more complex combat and enemies. Then 3 or 4 weeks in, you'll start running the low to mid-level dungeons with other players. It's vital to remember this is a long-term game aimed at long-term players. There's thousands of hours of content here, and it's dished out to you very slowly. But if you take your time and appreciate the journey more than the destination, you'll find a brilliant game here. The main story quest, or MSQ, will take a long time to finish. Even though they've recently streamlined the whole process, it's not a quick experience, and the expansions will again see you dedicating a good few weeks of solid to casual play to beat them. As of now, there are 3 major expansions. The free trial included Heaven's Ward, then Stormblood, then finally Shadowbringers. Each brings new classes, new items, new armor, and a massive amount of new enemies and areas to explore, as well as pushing the central storyline forward. Even though you can buy a level boost and get yourself straight to the end immediately, that is not and never has been the point of the game. The adventure is the draw here. Starting from the beginning and getting to the end is the fun bit. Jumping to the end will not give you anywhere near a fair experience of this game. So should you play Final Fantasy XIV in 2021? There are several factors, if I'm being honest, that put me off this game. I'm not a fan of the very slow start, from the tedious fetch quest to the monotonous early game combat, or the immense amount of very plot-heavy cutscenes and long conversations thrown at you so quickly before you've had a chance to really establish yourself in this world. And because of this early game experience, Final Fantasy XIV always felt off-putting to me, which is super annoying because once you reach the mid to end game, it's a lot of fun. you start to understand your place in the world, then the combat opens up and shows its true strengths. I think if you're going to play Final Fantasy XIV in 2021, you should try the very generous free trial and then even consider the relatively affordable monthly subscription, but also keep in mind that the early game experience is weak and not representative of the heights of quality it does eventually reach. So yes, give it a go and give it your best shot to get invested in the story and adventure through Eorzea. Just be willing to give this game a few weeks to click, because it does get better. It just doesn't have the best start. Cheers for watching! Let me know in the comments below if you decided to give Final Fantasy XIV a go, and drop a like on the vid, sub to the channel and ring the bell for more MMO content. A huge thank you to all my supporters on Patreon and subscribers on Twitch who make all my content possible. You can support the Patreon from only £1 a month or join the Discord. Links are all below. Thank you for your time, and as always, have a great day.
Okay, so what do you guys think about this game? Just put it in the comment section, we can discuss. Thanks for watching.